Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Joe Kotzi with Eventide. With us today we have our VP of Development and Head Engineer, Russell Wedelick. Also with us is Woody Herman, our Senior DSP Engineer, and our Hardware Product Manager and Content Creator, Patrick Flores. We are absolutely thrilled to finally announce the H90 Harmonizer, Eventide's next generation effects pedal. With this announcement, we're also delivering 10 brand new algorithms, some of which feature our new cutting-edge polyphonic pitch shifting. The H90 now features flexible I/O and routing capabilities and a completely reimagined user interface that will allow you to find the sounds that you want and explore sounds that we think you'll love. Happy H9th of November, everybody.
Woo! Yeah! We did it!
So, Russ, everybody wants to know how the H9 came about. Where did the idea start? Tell us about that process.
Sure. So the H90 came about, number one, well, the H9 exists.
Right.
Number two, us DSP engineers, we always want more power. We want to make new sounds. We want to do new math, you know, all this type of stuff. So it's a combination of us just wanting to push the envelope and then listening to the requests of all of our customers and seeing people make music and being inspired.
When did this project start?
2018, I started drawing it on, you know, just trying to figure out the UI to make sure it was possible. Is when we started it. Yeah, 2018, and then into 2019, then the pandemic hit, and things got a little crazy.
How did the initial ideas look?
Well, usually this kind of stuff starts with, all right, I know what I wanted to improve on the H9 was how much usability sort of at the device, right? So that meant we needed to pick a good screen. So usually the ideas start with figuring out what screens you can afford and buy, and then you design UIs around them. At least that's how I did it. So.
Right. We have some initial drawings that you actually put
yeah.
pen to paper, right? How
Yeah.
about we show some of those?
And I also brought some 3D models.
3D models, yeah, let's see that.
Yeah.
Back there.
Yeah. A couple of these guys.
There's stacks of these around even.
Yeah.
So what are we
These
seeing
3D
on the
printers.
screen here?
Oh yeah, so this is me sketching it out and trying to write and plan, you know, what do these knobs do, what do these foot switches do, and we have maybe some earlier drawings too when sort of the design, I printed it and then I just started with pencil drawing what I think it should look like and working with, you know, the other industrial designers and software guys to realize this.
So optimizing the usability and
Yes.
the performance experience was a must-do for this product.
And that's why, you know, it's great to live in these days when we can just 3D print stuff, right? And then you don't have to you can actually move pretty fast if you can 3D print this and really test it out in real time, you know? Because the chances, you never get anything right the first, second, third, fourth, 10th, 11th, the 1000th time.
Woody, you were heavily involved in some of the algorithm design. Take us through that process.
Yeah, sure. So I worked on the instant phaser, instant flanger, bouquet delay, headspace, and did a little bit of the sound design for polyphony. My colleague Corey did a lot of the kind of background DSP research. And it's kind of a similar process for a lot of them. There's, part of the fun of the job is when you first work on something, there's a whole lot of research involved. So it's nice for me because I like that I get to learn stuff all the time on this job. So it's always about, first I learn about something new, then I work on implementing it. So for example, for phaser and flanger, when we were working on the plugins, it involved a lot of looking at the actual hardware, a lot of reading old manuals. For the bouquet delay and headspace, doing a lot of research on my own too, and then putting things together and kind of playing around with it.
Now, on the original H9, there already was a flanger and a phasing algorithm. Mm-hmm. Why would new users be attracted to instant phaser and instant flanger? What's different about it?
That's a great question. I think they're classic Eventide things, right? They're some of the first things that Eventide did, but I feel like this principle of, okay, let's take something that's maybe relatively simple and see how far we can take it, right? How much can we push this, right? What's the next step that this effect can go through? And that's true for the instant phaser and instant flanger because they're not just like an individual phaser or flanger. There's a whole lot more going on with them.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so they both have, for example, a main output and an aux output. And those outputs kind of really drastically change the sound. It's almost like getting two phasers or two flangers in one. So for the instant phaser, right, there's a series of all-pass filters, and the aux output kind of taps out after a certain number of those.
Dude, you're giving it away.
And what does it mean? Like, what does it mean for the sound when something taps out? Like, how does that translate?
Well, so if you think about like for the phaser, for example, the more all-pass stages you have up to a point, the more kind of lush and thick the sound is going to be, right? For a smaller number of all-pass sections, it's going to be a little tighter, more focused. Similarly, for the flanger, the longer the delay times, the kind of like more towards a chorus almost you get, right?
So
But
there's
if you
different
have
modes in each one of these algorithms?
Yeah, oh yeah. So this was one of my favorite things to do with these is that we took those and we made them available to users of the pedal, right? Each of the instant phaser and instant flanger has a mode switch that goes shallow, deep, or wide. And
Nice.
it corresponds to the main output and the aux output on each of those boxes. And the wide mode is really interesting because you can take those two unique outputs from each box and route them in stereo. And if you do that, then you get this whole kind of movement going on. For the phaser, it starts to get wider or narrower. For the flanger, it'll move right to left or left to right. And it's just like, a phaser and flanger just kind of taken one level up, doing something super interesting and cool.
Now, Russ, a lot of Eventide fans would consider us as legendary effects makers, right? How will this new platform advance our legacy of sound?
Two things. I've already said one of them. We're excited. More power, right? This is ARM processing. This is a technological and hardware leap forward for us, right? And then also performance enhancements, things that are better for the player. Everything can be momentary or not, and we have customizability to let individual artists express themselves with the box, right? And this is sort of hints back at what we've seen in Eventide history well before I was there. We had like the H3000, legendary studio box, right? I love what the designers of the Eclipse did. They kind of took the spirit of the H3000 and made it and focused it on players, right? You have things like hotkeys, you have remotable options and stuff like that. Those two boxes are the ones I consider that this is really, plus the H9 following in the footsteps of. I studied the H3000 and the Eclipse a lot when I was thinking about this design, and obviously the H9. So yeah, I think it's in that lineage. It's more power, because from the H3000 to the Eclipse, there was a significant jump in DSP technology, right? Same thing here. We're moving from fixed point processors to this, whole new ARM paradigm. This is a totally different processing
And
paradigm.
what will that mean for the future of the effects?
That means that's the more power option, right? That means that we have an open playground. We're really excited. We have more ideas for SIFT technology, which I know we'll talk about in a little bit. We have more ideas for distortions and modulations. We have more ideas for things we can't talk about. So
Interesting. So, Woody, tell us about bouquet delay. Now, if some of us read the leaked threads from yesterday, I noticed there was a lot of interest in a comparison between our rose pedal and bouquet delay. Is there any similarities?
Definitely some similarities. I did read through those forum comments, and I'm sorry to say, for those of you who are hoping for it, it is not exactly the rose. And I really wish I had thought about that while we were making the names, but there are a little bit of similarities.
Why is it called that, by the way? Bouquet references what?
Well, it's an emulation of old analog delays that use Bucket Brigade chips, and we kind of thought it was a funny mispronunciation of
Bucket Brigade.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
There we go. So let's clear the air
Yes.
on that one. It wasn't a bouquet of roses, as some
Yes.
inferred, but
Although that's great. But no, there are some similarities. I think for example, the rose is a delay, but it changes its delay time in a really unique way by adjusting the sampling rate of the converters that it's using. And for old Bucket Brigade-based delay pedals, it's a very similar idea. You had a clock frequency, which controlled how fast these kind of sort of samples moved through the Bucket Brigade chip. And so it's a very similar process for how you're changing the length of the delay line, and that can lead to like similar sounding modulation sounds and
Hey,
stuff.
Pat, can we hear a sample of
Really?
a
Do you
program
have
that
an
uses
example?
bouquet delay?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to combine it with another algorithm. This is just bouquet delay standalone. For someone who uses the roast, it's actually pretty close to me in character, but I'm just earballing it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going under the hood.
So the spirit was to capture the analog sound.
Right, yeah, the goal of these was, I think those analog delay pedals using the Bucket Brigade chips have a really cool sound to them, right? The repeats get a little darker, they get kind of like maybe a little fizzy, maybe a little crunchy, and the goal was to really go after that and the kind of very warm, gooey modulation sound that they had. That was the hope.
And if I cock the expression pedal, it does the deep modulation that people really like about the roast.
Very interesting. And what about headspace? That's another kind of
Yes.
analog emulation, right?
Yeah, totally. So Headspace, the goal there was to kind of capture the qualities of like an old tape echo. So similarly to bouquet delay, right? We really wanted to kind of place an emphasis on these kind of like vintage delay effects. We thought that would be a really cool piece to add to the H90. And so Headspace is an emulation of those tape delays. It gives you 4 different playheads and like a ton of features. The goal was to like take the tape delay but make it really performative, kind of like what we talked about before about gearing this towards being something that could be used in performance, trying to capture the sound of the tape delay and then build on it a little bit so that you can really make it easy to perform with.
And it's more of an interpretation, Eventide's interpretation of these classic devices. We didn't really like set out to emulate one specific one, right?
No, that was not the goal. Certainly in the research, right, we looked at a lot of these classic effects. So we have some of them. We have like an old tape echo that we got.
We went to
and
a studio.
we went to a studio,
steers
yeah.
and stuff, those type of things.
Yeah, we looked at the professional tape machines. We looked at the more lo-fi tape delays. And we didn't want to go for like a one-on-one model because I think that certainly for me, the appeal is making it a little more flexible, right? Like we want the character, but we want the flexibility to do something unique with it or put our own spin on it.
And how many tape heads do we get?
4. So in Headspace, you get 4. You can turn them on or off. You don't have to have 4. You could have 1 if you want. You get to pan them. You get to change the length.
You can control the panning.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can pan them. You can
You can
make 'em different
change the
lengths.
time division like
can
in little
tame the time
percentages. So you can,
divisions.
Tell us about the noise.
Oh yeah. So you get a lot of features in Headspace that try and bring this from maybe something a little more pristine to something that, I don't know, you pulled out of like a basement gear closet or something. So there's some emulations of tape hiss. You can drive the input of it a little bit to get a nice kind of like distorted sound for like a tape saturation kind of thing. And then it's got a control for wow and flutter. So if you know your servo motors really start messing up or something else is wrong and you know your tape really starts wobbling around, you get that kind of nice fluttery modulation sound.
gear sounds better when it's dying.
It sounds better when it's dying.
Stuff.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Patrick, give us a sample of that.
All right, here's a little taste of what Headspace sounds like. And then there's a perform parameter on it called breakdown. I imagine it's like a producer who just wants you to stop recording, so he slows the tape down.
He wasn't happy with the performance.
He
shut
didn't
you
like the
off.
take. He didn't like that take. Oh, or you could
What
boil
happens
it.
when he says, just boil it?
Yeah, well,
We spun it too
awesome.
fast.
That's
The mylar
awesome.
boiled.
Yep. Oh yeah. We cooked it. We cooked the tape.
that's
Spinning it
scrambled,
too
yeah.
fast.
So obviously the highlight of the day is Eventide's new polyphonic pitch shifting. And one of my favorite algorithms, polyphony. Tell us about polyphony
Yeah. So.
or the technology behind our
Sure.
new algorithms.
Yeah, of course. So polyphony at its core is based off of what we're calling spectral instantaneous frequency tracking, so SIFT for short. And this was the brainchild of our great DSP researcher, Corey, who has been working on this for a while now.
Corey, which
And
Corey?
Corey
Corey
Kerlick. Yes, recently added full-time to the DSP team. Very happy he's here.
Fantastic.
DSP family.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
DSP family.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did a little bit of the sound design for Polyphony, and that came about through a lot of Corey's hard work, and then Russ and I going back and forth with him and really figuring out, okay, how do we tune this for a guitar? How do we tune this for like maybe something more percussive? There's a lot of work. You get the SIFT algorithm working, and you think it sounds great, and then on top of that, you have to spend a lot of time getting it to work in a performance context. And so one of the things we thought of was kind of similar to our old pitch factor effects, right? Not just they let you shift the sound, but they also have like delays. They've got feedback. They can detuning. They got detuning. Multiple voices. So
I have a couple. This algorithm, we worked on it a lot during when we were locked down, right?
Yeah.
Just a lot of us thinking about polyphony. And my favorite story is when Woody figured out that we could actually use this for a freeze,
yes.
Yeah.
right? And I was like, we were thinking, oh, we need a separate freeze algorithm, which we might do. But we thought, man, let's. We were sitting there talking about it, and then all of a sudden, Woody on the call, he's like, wait a minute, I know how to do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then 2 hours later, he sends us like a build where it totally works.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. There's in doing this work, there are very, very rare moments where you get like your first idea for something just kind of works.
Once a decade.
Yeah, once a decade, yeah, definitely. And so that was really cool to just have that try it work. There was a lot of fine tuning that went into that, but to just, recognize that and be like, oh, wait, I'm looking at this algorithm. This looks similar to something else that I know. I think we can do a freeze with this. And then there it is.
Patrick, you did a lot of work curating a lot of these programs. You put your heart and soul into some of these. And as an H9 Max power user, what was it like transitioning into the H90 ecosystem?
Really, really easy, in my opinion. So I had the fun job. They had the job of creating the sounds. I just had the job of playing with it. And the UI on this thing allows you to just dive deep right away. We're trying, we really worked hard on making sure the UI is right for the person to just take away the learning curve and just get into playing, just get inspired, start making music right away. So for me, really easy.
Now, speaking about the H9 Max, did any of our new technology make it into the older algorithms?
Certainly. I mean, we learned a lot more about pitch shifting when we were studying and trying to create SIFT. I will say that improving the tracking of the monophonic pitch trackers and also their robustness to polyphony, since we made a polyphonic pitch shifter. So a lot of these things like diatonic, algorithm, quadravox can't be fully polyphonic because that's sort of a music theory conundrum, right? I won't go through all the scales and stuff right now, but definitely they're tracking better, as well as not flubbing as much on if you play like like some sort of double stop or like you know 3-note kind of chord thing, right? Or if you need to play sloppy, if you're in a punk band or something. I don't mean it's
The punk's
No,
coming after you
Yeah,
now.
what are you
It's
saying
coming
right now?
after you.
All the punk people just left.
I know.
Damn it.
Oh, sorry guys, sorry. That sloppiness is great and part of the artistic expression, right? So you don't want a pitch shifter to mess it up. Anyway, so, yeah.
What improvements can you think of that we made to existing algorithms from the H9 Max? I know Spring has an
Oh, that's right.
improvement
Yeah.
right?
Spring has an because when we did the plugin, I did the original Spring in Space, and I didn't have the juice to do the larger double spring sort of. Well, there's actually 4 springs in there. They're counterwound and that are in like the twin reverbs, and this pedal does. So I actually had old models in really old MATLAB code, and we don't even use that, that I had to like dig up and translate to different languages and get running in this pedal.
And now we can actually put the tremolo before.
Yeah, and we did that, and yeah, we can actually move the tremolo before or after we had the large spring tank.
I understand we also ported some features available on the plugin that weren't available in the H9 Max into H9 Max algorithms. Is that
Yes.
true?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think the one I can think of off the bat is the swirl capability.
Swirl
Yeah.
from Tricerachorus.
Tricerachorus.
We did the undulator thing, would let you have separate spread and what's the other? Feedback, yeah, spread
Wait,
feedback
I didn't
together.
know about that one. What again?
Oh, so in the original undulator from the mod factor, you had to pick a mode, spread or feedback, and you had one knob to do it. And in this one, because we're not tied to a physical interface, we were like, well, why can't you just have spread and feedback at the same time? It was a very easy change. So
Okay.
there's a lot of those
I
type of
learned something
decisions.
today. That's awesome. I know a lot of fans out there are undulator fans because it's really an effect nobody else can do, right? The other announcement is SP 2016 Reverb, which obviously this is a box known for its high quality digital room reverbs that made it onto countless albums, right, through the decades. It was its own original box, then it became a plugin, then it made it onto the H9000 harmonizer, and now it's available on the H90. So can you give us some insight into?
Sure. I mean, that reverb is known, and I still don't quite understand why, but I feel like everything you put in it just sits in the mix so well. It has a unique position control. It was designed by, he's in the room, and he's going to groan if I name drop him, Mr. Tony Agnello.
We got a sheepish wave.
Yeah, we got a sheepish wave, yeah. It was designed by him. There's a lot of magic numbers that he could maybe tell you why he picked them, or he says no. I think he's probably forgotten.
I've been trying to get in touch with that guy. He doesn't respond.
Tony says he's been trying to get in contact with that guy and he just won't respond.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a great reverb.
There's two different
There's two different
right?
types. Yeah. So yeah, the story there's modern for each type and there's vintage, right? So the vintage ones were actually done after the original SP 2016, which wasn't just a reverb box. This is a multi-effects. It's probably one of the first multi-effects, and Tony claims that it's the original use of the word plug-in because it allowed people to plug in their own ROM chips in a language that Tony invented called SPUD, right? And then you could plug them into the device. Right.
So it was actually the beginning of Eventide's legacy of giving our sound design software away. Right now, as an H9000 owner, you can use VSig to kind of rework some algorithms or create your own entirely. But back then, people used them to create brand new effects, and as Russ was saying, burn them onto EEPROM chips that you could literally plug into the hardware to do a multitude of things. But really the unit was used mainly for its spectacular room reverb, right?
Yeah, that room reverb was where the key is, and
Right.
there's a lot of just hand-tuned algorithms. So the vintage ones are based on that. There was another company that Tony started called Princeton Digital, where they translated that code up to a higher. It's a similar process. You know, you
Right.
get a new processor, you write it in that, and that one's the modern algorithms. And the best story about this is that when Peter McCullough, he's a plugin engineer, he was the one who did the SP 2016 plugin, the recent one. And we kept asking Tony, well, what's the sampling rate of these boxes? We got to know the sampling rate. And Tony kept saying, that's around 40K. So we did it 40K, and Peter was just beating his head against the wall. He's got great ears. He was listening, going, this doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound the same. And I think we finally hooked up some logic analyzers or something to these old boxes, and we realized that, oh no, we just looked at the chips, and we did the math on the clock divisions. We were like, oh, this is not 40K. It's 39,062.5. And then once we resampled the algorithm to that, we were like, that's the sound. Anyway, so yeah, that's
Incredible.
Yeah.
So earlier this week, Eventide teased a picture of like a prism, right? And of course, one of the new algorithms is Prism Shift. Woody, tell us about Prism Shift.
Yeah, sure. So Prism Shift is entirely the brainchild of Corey. And that one uses the same technology, the same sifting technology that we talked about. And it does something really amazing, which is just, you put your sound in and it will arpeggiate it for you automatically. And you've got different settings for how long each kind of like section will tail off for or repeat. And it's amazing.
It literally separates your chord.
It literally separates your chords. Yeah, this one's pretty amazing.
Sure.
Let us hear it, Patrick. Interesting.
It's like auto wind chimes.
Totally.
Always.
Yeah.
Or whatever you throw at it.
And I think in its history, the most asked for algorithm might just have been a Univibe, right? Well, this time around, the H90 harmonizer features Eventide. What can you tell us about its development?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of our longest forum posts. So. We got an old, this is years ago actually, we got an old Univibe. We had an excellent intern named Champ, they're abundant, and he showed up and did this, and worked with me and another guy named Pete Bischoff here at Eventide, and we did surgery on the Univibe, non-invasive surgery, it still works, on this old Shinai Univibe module. We wrote a paper about it and submitted it to DATHEX, so if you wonder how we did it, go read about it.
Now, why did this never make it onto the H9 Max?
I'm sad to say that the H9 Max doesn't have the juice that it takes to faithfully recreate this this effect, right?
Like by juice, you mean horsepower?
Horsepower,
power,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so if you hear DSP engineers say juice or cycles or how expensive it is, we're not talking about money or things you drink. We're talking about
Or horses.
We're talking about hertz. We're talking about our horses. Yeah, our horses. Yeah. We're always talking about how much math we can do in a fraction of a second.
So it's about faithfully recreating the right sound and
Yes,
H90
absolutely.
having that power.
Yeah.
You guys nailed it with this one. It sounds so good.
Sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Patrick, I'd love to
You
hear
guys
this
know
one.
what's about to happen. All right, this is Eventide going into SB 2016.
Wicked. All right. And you can control things like the rate with the expression pedal
The
and all
rate,
that.
the spread, which regular Univibes can't do, so it's like having two vibes.
Oh, we
Wait,
added envelope too.
And on.
Wait. Tell me about what other Univibes can't do. What is
Well,
that?
you
on?
would need two of them, and then you would need to make your own circuit to be able to you need to lock them together, whatever core LFO they have, right? And so if you have one Univibe in the left ear and one in the right, and you can get them 90 degrees and maintain that, you kind of get this.
Like rotary sound.
Rotary.
So this
kinda
is
sound.
where we do something different from a
This is
normal
our Eventide
Univib.
thing.
This is
Yeah.
the even vibe that
Yeah.
I'm feeling
Yes.
here. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're going to do
Very
surgery,
cool.
you might as well make Frankenstein.
Exactly.
Very cool. You had given us an example with Weed Whacker before
Yeah.
we started. I would love to hear even vibe used with that there.
I got you.
that one was we did modeled after a real weed whacker.
Our first teaser, our first teaser was actually a Weed Whacker. Now, a lot of people couldn't make the connection, obviously, but this is please tell us what Weed Whacker is.
Yeah, so Weed Whacker is just kind of like one of those classic overdrives. Pete Bischoff did a great job looking
Shout
at that.
out.
Yeah,
he killed
and
it.
Patrick,
Yes.
you helped a
Yeah,
lot with
you
that
guys
one.
did a lot
Yeah,
of the sound
thank
design.
you. But yeah, that was all Pete, man.
Yeah.
Killed it.
And I think it sounds great. It's probably one of our most like natural sounding distortions, like a one you just kind of, if you need just an overdrive.
It's better than the ones I did.
That's a little harsh. I think that's a little harsh. They're just different. Yeah.
So this is just Weed Whacker. And this is even vibe before Weed Whacker. Get that kind of Hendrixy.
Now, what would happen if we were to swap the order of the...
Still gonna sound awesome, so let's swap that out. Just a heavier Univibe.
I don't know which one I like more.
One of them just kind of throbs deeper, right?
Why does that happen? I mean, what's the reasoning behind that?
You know, the time varying nonlinear effects sound different depending on their order, right? You generate a lot of harmonics with distortion, and you're either swirling those up after, or you're swirling things up before, and then making a lot of time varying harmonics. That's sort of a quasi-scientific explanation, I guess.
Fantastic.
I don't know. Because it does. It sounds.
It sounds good.
It sounds good.
That's why. That's why.
So, as you can see, the H90 has a new effect architecture. And the pedal has a playlist that features 99 programs. Now, as users, we can customize that. We can create as many lists as we want. But at any given time, there's only one playlist. Each program in the playlist has 2 algorithms. And each algorithm features a preset list that we can use to explore new sounds. So Patrick, why don't you give us a quick tour of some of your favorite programs?
Cool. Yeah, so the first one I'm going to show you is called Cinematric. Cool name for that one. Shout out.
Named after anyone?
Shout out, Pat, wherever you are. And this one I made, which is pitch fuzz going into shimmer. I kind of wanted to hit one note and get that like cinematic sound, right? Sound like this. Up. If I turn my volume up, then you can
Might
hear
help.
it. Yeah.
Nice. So, as a user, if you wanted to control that program, how would you be able to do that from the front panel?
There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but the best way to do it is hit perform, and this lets you program the foot switches to do whatever you want, really. So right now it's very simple. You get to activate or bypass each one of them, but for example, if I wanted to make pitch fuzz a momentary active to use as a throw, very easy to do. So you can kind of do.
Very cool. So you said we have 2 pages of?
Yes.
Okay.
The second page turns into a hot switch. Or you can just assign it to whatever you want to. So you got 6 really.
Right. So in perform mode, we have 2 pages of 3 configurable foot switches, 6 in total. And we can assign them to all these different performance options, right? What do you have for us next?
Okay, so this one is called Twister Echo. I was really obsessed with this band called The Fall of Troy, and they have this song called FCPE Remix, and they used a pedal called the Roland Space Echo. So in this one, I just have a simple, just a tape echo going into a delay. But what I did was using hot switches on the second page. You'll have this when you buy it. I turned it momentary so that it self-oscillates and turns the feedback of it way up and the size way down and a bunch of different parameters to kind of get this sound.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a Twister Echo. So just to clarify, on the second page of configurable assignments, Patrick has decided to program hot switches. Now, hot switches were previously available in Eventide algorithms on an individual basis, but on the H90, now we can program these hot switches to control any parameter across the entire pedal or the entire program. And each foot switch can be assigned a hot switch. So this is something very exciting for some of the power users out there, adding more enhanced capabilities that the H9 Max didn't have, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me something. If I were using a delay, how would I control tap tempo?
That's easy. So in the P foot switch here, you can assign that to tap tempo. So for example, in this program we were just listening to, we have that delay, but you can just kind of go real fast.
And all this stuff is remotable.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
Tap tempo, performance parameters, they can all be assigned to a aux switch, auxiliary switch, 3-button auxiliary switch, or a MIDI controller. Tap tempo, we can set it to a MIDI clock follow mode, so it'll follow MIDI clock, stuff like that.
Fantastic.
It might be off camera, but I have the MIDI controller controlling tap at all times here, so I can pretty much do whatever I want and be in any screen and still have
You're
tap
using
tempo.
MIDI clock.
I'm using just MIDI CC to do tap.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
a lot of
a
ways to do
couple.
it.
There's a couple different
Yeah.
ways. So if I were
Yeah.
running like a DAW, I could send it MIDI clock.
Yes.
And, okay, fantastic, fantastic. What else you got, Patrick?
Cool. So I want to show you guys Polyphony. This one's a program called Awaken. Polyphony going into Tricera chords gives you that lush, beautiful chords. And using Perform, I can freeze it and kind of solo over it using those
there you
drones.
go.
So.
Hey, tell me something. Do you give lessons?
No.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you've assigned one of the foot switches to the freeze function in
Yes.
Polyphony, right?
We cliffhangered this. We finally got to it, right?
Yeah, awesome. So I've seen you've been entirely in perform mode here, right? What can users do in select mode?
Select mode works like sort of how I imagine a regular multi-effects works. So B lets you scroll up, and it cues that up, and then you hit P to load that program. And same with A, but goes down and press P to load it.
Fantastic. Now, some of the people in the audience may notice that it says bank right under the select knob. What can we use bank mode for?
Bank mode lets you have 3 different programs ready to go queued up. So you can, if you have a song, for example, that uses a few different effects, you can kind of just click through them without having to do multiple steps. So for example, something like this.
This is a very good intro to the next topic here.
Yeah, absolutely. But first tell us, like, how many banks do we get?
99 divided by 3, 33.
33, of course, because our playlist consists of 99 programs. So if you get 3 per page, that's 33 banks. And you can customize that. You can give them custom names. Can you show us how to navigate?
Sure, yeah. Navigating your banks are easy. To get into your bank mode, you hold select down, and then to go up and down a bank, you either hold B to go up, hold A to go up. You can also use select to scroll through all your different ones. But if you're really far from the first one, you can just hold P, and that'll bring you all the way back to bank 1. So now you're back.
And once again, these are all remotable features.
I
these
think we call them
navigation features.
assignable.
Assignable?
Yeah.
And I think remotable is not a word, is it?
Remotable?
It probably
It
is.
is now.
I don't.
But
it is
in
now.
another
Yeah, we
dimension.
made it.
You're right. You're
A
right.
new product announcement, remotable.
Remotable.
Eventide exclusive, remotable features. But that's important to know. And when I was using this, I used assignments.
Yes.
Instead of needing to hold down the buttons, it's an immediate bank up and bank
Yes.
down
Yes.
with auxiliary switches.
Yeah.
So this is a neat feature that we can map to aux switches.
And there's immediate program by program increment, decrement, and load stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it works on a global level, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I have that in the MIDI controller here, so I can just press this, and it'll go up and load a program.
Fantastic. One of the most sought after requests is the ability to change between presets without interrupting the audio. The H90 Harmonizer now features true spillover between programs. So there's also something called delay trails. Can you share what the difference is?
Sure.
Or delay tails,
Delay
rather.
tails, yeah. The spillover, I think, in my mind, is the most luxurious feature of this product. So yeah, it basically, if you have a long delay or long reverb or some combination of both of those in a program, when you heard him do it in bank mode, when you would change programs, it preserves the previous tail, lets it die out very smoothly, right? Tails is a similar feature. In the H9, we call it DSP plus effects bypass. Tails affects what happens when you activate or bypass an effect, right? And if you have tails on and you bypass it, then you still hear the wet signal, right? It's real
Gotcha.
loud.
Gotcha. Can you give us a demonstration of true spillover?
Yeah, actually, so let's go back to the first one called Cinematric, just because it's got a long reverb tail, and I'll transition to Awaken, which has no reverb at all, and you'll hear how that smoothly goes over. So.
I love that.
Smooth.
And I
Very
know our
smooth.
H9
Very,
Max
very
users
smooth.
are going to love that.
Yeah.
As you can see, the architecture allows us to use 2 simultaneous algorithms, and H90's flexible routing capabilities allow us to place them in series or parallel. Why would musicians find that useful?
I want to, while he's doing that, I want to shout out this feature. I wasn't really even considering it at first, but we've had Rafik Bacha is a guitar player for a band called Sunlux. They did the soundtrack to this great movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, man.
So
Love
I
that
knew
movie.
I knew he was a double H9 user, back in 2018, and we reached out to him, and then he came and visited, before the pandemic, and he's like, "You got to do this. You got to have dual mono insert or stereo insert." And I wasn't planning on it, and he goes, "You'll knock so much stuff off my board if you do that." And I was like, all right, I'm going to listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's using 2 H9s, and yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to shout him out for that. Yeah. And also, one thing, I want to shout him out because he's known about this product for 4 years and he hasn't spilled the beans. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Tough to do.
So, yeah, why would somebody find series parallel functionality useful with the pedal?
It's really up to taste. It just changes the character of the sound. So in this example, I have Ultra Tap in parallel with Black Hole. My goal with this one was so that the reverb taps wouldn't feed. Oh, sorry, the delay taps wouldn't feed the reverb every time it goes, right? Meaning it keeps eating all the reverb, and it makes it sound muddy. So here's what it sounds like in parallel. Pretty clean and smooth, but if I put it in series, you'll hear that like the tap every time it hits the reverb, it starts to bloom over again.
So where do we go to make this adjustment here?
You just click routing over here, this little routing button, and then you just turn the first quick knob, and that'll turn it into series. So now it sounds like this.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah, it keeps growing instead of it decaying naturally.
Now let's say I wanted to get adventurous and switch the order of the algorithms. How do I do that?
Easy. You just click the first quick knob again where the routing is, and then it swaps it out pretty fast. So this one's a weird one to show it off with because it is a reverb going into a delay this time.
But you showed a good example earlier with the...
yeah, like the
Univibe,
Univibe
the
going into
distortion,
the distortion swapped out. So
Very cool, very cool. So one of the unique features of H90 is that you can incorporate 2 mono inserts, or you can combine them for stereo functionality. Can you show us how to add that to our signal flow?
yeah, totally. So I'll show it to you in this program called Tidal Wave. Sounds like this without any inserts. But if I wanted, for example, to put the Tricera chorus in here, so in this pedal board, not to get too ahead of myself, I have 2 mono inserts. The Catalan Bread Dirty Little Secret Distortion is in 1, so that's going out in 3, out 3. And the Tricera chorus is in 2, so it's going out in 4, out 4. If I wanted to put the Tricera chorus just before the Ultra Tap, I just got to go to in 2 over here, and then now it's right before just the Ultra Tap. If I wanted to put it in parallel, giving us 3 parallel effects, also very doable.
Nice. So yeah, there's subtle differences there.
Yeah.
So you can have up to 3 effects in parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
You could basically move this thing virtually around on your board.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, what other attributes are available to users as it pertains to inserts?
We have a whole other mode called dual routing mode, which is similar to the H9 pre-post. Which,
Okay.
Which we don't have time to show you, but it's, I wanted to bring it up. It allows you, you could do 4-cable method with insert mode, right? Or you could use dual routing mode.
Yeah, so on the back of the H90, there are 4 inputs and 4 outputs. They can be configured for instrument level or line level operation. It's always important to match the impedances of the devices that are hooked up together for optimal audio. And on the left side of the back panel, you'll see some LEDs that light up to indicate when we're in line level operation. And again, if you're hooking this up to an audio interface, a DJ mixer, or even the effects loop of an amplifier, most likely you'd want to use this in line level operation for that extra headroom, right? But since we're dealing with pedals in insert routing mode here, we'll be using this in instrument level operating level, right? Mm-hmm. Also on the back panel, and as Russell just mentioned, yes, there is a global routing mode called dual mode that will allow the H90 to function as 2 independent stereo effects processors. So path 1 would use input and output 1 and 2, and path 2 would use input and output 3 and 4. So if we wanted to, we could like process a vocal with path 1 and a guitar with 2, or a guitar and a piano. You get to choose. This mode also makes it easy to use the H90 in pre-post mode, right? It's a very straightforward connection.
Yes.
On the back panel, on the right side, we also see 2 EXP and control inputs that can be used for things like expression pedals, 3-button auxiliary switches, and even CV control, right? Patrick, can you give us an example of using an expression pedal with a program?
Yeah, totally. So this program is called Entanglements. It's Ultra Tap using the Ultra Swell preset going into tremolo verb. And the expression pedal is mapped to control the rate of the tremolo. So you'll see in Perform it's moving up and down right there. So it sounds like this.
Nice. I like that. So there are programs and there are presets, and each one has a dedicated button for quick access when we want to find and explore new sounds. So if a user wanted to, say, change the preset of an algorithm in a program, how would they be able to do that?
Really easily. So in this example, I have polyphonic room. I don't really want polyphony, but I like the reverb. I just want a nice distortion, right? So I go to presets over here. I highlight A. You can navigate through them by clicking the foot switch LEDs. So press A to go to the A algorithm. And then you can use these filters to, select what you want. So I'm going to go to distortion. I'm going to go to Weed Whacker. I just want a nice light distortion. I can turn select or perform. And then we can go through all the different ones. So let's use light and bright. This is going into SP 2016.
Now, say I wanted to adjust the mix of that reverb. How would I do that?
Sure, yeah. You go to parameters. And then since SP 2016 is in B, you just hit the B LED. And then that takes you to the parameters page of that. You can also...
What are you controlling there?
The mix of SP 2016.
But you're using those knobs.
Oh, the quick knobs, yeah. So these quick knobs are basically... It's actually really easy to understand. Whatever's on top of it on the screen is what it's controlling.
Okay,
Pretty simple.
gotcha.
So the select will select the page of knobs. So that way we can have many parameters for tweakability.
Yeah, so now that, with the mix down, the position now sounds like this. Oh, wrong riff.
So here's a question for you. Are we sticking to the 10 parameter paradigm for the H90?
No, because we have this screen and the ability to page a lot of things. And a lot of times you want to make something with less just so you don't have to dive as much. But no.
Right.
Weed Whacker was a good example of that.
Yeah.
Of let's just do a quick and dirty distortion that sounds good. No need for a bunch of extra knobs. We're just going to focus on the sound.
Excellent. So this means that in the future there may or may not be algorithms that are more than 10 parameters?
There are already algorithms that are more than 10 parameters.
Headspace,
Headspace does a lot.
goes way above there.
Oh yeah? How many does Headspace have?
16?
Probably, yeah.
Something like that.
A lot.
At least 9.
But they're grouped,
Plus,
they're grouped pretty well.
Yeah, I think
They're
having
logically
pages.
grouped. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we have a video prepared for you featuring some of the H90 factory programs. A lot of them feature a lot of the new algorithms. So please stick around till after the video because we're going to be answering all of your questions. So without further ado, Patrick, play us out.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. We've curated a list of questions here. Let's begin with Alfredo Carrera Garza's question. He asks, what about a firmware upgrade that lets you use expression pedal with the algorithm output level?
Doesn't need an upgrade, it does that.
Yeah, it does
It
that
already does
Already,
that.
yeah.
Next.
You can assign the expression pedal to control the input volume, the output volume, the pretty much any
Anything,
input or
yeah.
output gain, right?
Yeah.
Can you even control the insert input and output gain? Believe that you can, right?
Yeah.
I believe. Well, actually, I don't remember that one.
It does so much.
You got me.
But yes, now you're able to use the expression pedal to control things like input and output gain on a per program basis
Yes.
or even preset basis.
Yeah,
right?
or globally too. If you just always want your expression pedal to do program output gain, you could just set that up and not have to program it 99 times.
Jay asks, is this pedal VSig capable?
For us, it is.
Well, first of all, let's explain what VSig. Let's explain what VSig is. What is VSig?
So VSig is kind of like Eventide's in-house algorithm setup language. It's kind of like a visual programming languages where we have these individual building blocks.
Which users get to use VSig?
So VSig is available for the H9000 users and for the H8000 users, basically the rack mount family of gear. And it's the same tool that we use in-house to make our own algorithms. It's a lot of the same modules, although not all. And yeah, just let you make your own algorithms. This one is not, for us, it is. It's. I'll just take the moment to say that one of the things we're most excited about is this is probably the easiest thing that we've made since I've been here to develop for. It's really easy to kind of experiment with new ideas, and that's what's got us really psyched, is that like it's so easy to try out something new, throw it on here, and see what it does.
Oh, it's a great idea, and I am not opposed to it. So I don't know how else to say that.
It's an open-ended
It's an open
answer there.
Yeah,
Above my pay grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jambo asks, is Bluetooth built in as a possibility for iOS like the H9?
Yes, but we need to turn that on in an update. So these two lights here and here are Bluetooth lights. It's there. We had it proof of concept working. We wanted to ship this thing. We think it's so usable at the interface that we didn't want to hold it up for the iOS apps. But I promise that one is coming.
ModSource73 asks, is the I.O. balanced?
I don't believe so. No, it's not like a balanced mic input or anything like that. No, these are
Right.
just quarter-inch instrument.
Can you
level
use
inputs.
TRS connectors, like if I'm hooking it up to my
Oh, you can
audio
do that
interface?
to split stereo signal for sure.
Right,
But it'll work.
right,
I mean, a
right.
balanced input will work in there. It's still going to work. It's still going to close. The connectors are still going to close correctly. It's not going to not work.
All right. Jay asks another question. What is the headroom for this pedal? Can it live and play alongside its older brother in a rack?
Yes, line level, which I think, oh man, we didn't have any hardware engineers here. Plus 10 dBu, I would imagine, something like that. So yeah, if with the line level switches on the back, you get some pretty good headroom.
Right. And on top of that, H9 Max is it varies, right? So it'll play well with this. Is I think that's what they want to know.
Yeah, and like you could have instrument level going in, and you can have line level inserts. You could have line level going in, and then switch your inserts to instrument level so they're appropriate for other guitar pedals. Stuff
Fantastic.
Like that.
So Tim Hereabout asks, is there a glitch delay type sound?
Totally. Yeah, we kind of showed off this bouquet delay doing that really heavy modulated sound, but there's glitch is objective, I think.
There's Ultra Tap will do some stutter
Ultra Tap
things.
will do some
Yeah.
really stuttery stuff.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Dark Sparkler asks, are any of the algorithms set for quad?
I think that probably means using all 4 outputs.
I'm assuming that that's what that means.
No.
Good idea, though.
Yeah.
You can do that on the H9000, though, right?
Obviously.
And more.
And more.
Right.
Yeah.
Dirt Robot asks, are there better converters?
These are pretty good, and they might be better than they originally designed to be, because unfortunately our AKM burned down right before the pandemic, which is, they make a lot of converters that we all use, and we ended up having to pay high dollar for the TI ones. So anyway, they're
So
pretty
the
good.
answer is yes.
Yes, they're good. Yeah, they're great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Dirt Robot also asks, is this an H9 Max with more I/O? What's the magic upgrade?
New algorithms.
This is an entirely new
yeah.
ecosystem. Number one, the ease of use that the front panel offers is unparalleled to anything we've ever come out with, and that's rack included, I would say, right?
Yes.
Except
more
for maybe
playable.
the
Yeah.
H9000 for
Yeah,
obvious
Yeah,
reasons.
I cannot, say it enough. Combining 2 algorithms really is such a magical experience. Like, you can create more inspirational sound stuff by just combining even 2 legacy algorithms, but now with like newer ones and the perform switches, like some that we didn't even show off yet. It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
so
yeah.
not to mention the brand new sounds,
Yeah.
the cutting edge polyphonic pitch shifting, all these other algorithms that could never have lived in the H9, period. Now, because of the
Yeah.
advanced horsepower, etc., function well on this.
And a lot of our algorithms are more than one algorithm. There's more than
Yeah.
one.
Right.
We do a lot of
Yeah.
multi-effects. We like going a little deep and tweaky.
Totally. Yeah.
Ben Chapito Katz asks, can you control the 2 sides of the pedal separately?
I mean, in a lot of ways, yeah, you have individual active bypass of the A and B, right? So you can assign those to perform, and you can assign those.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So remote to
if
external
the
things.
question is referring to algorithm A and algorithm B, absolutely. You can have individual expression assignments for A
Yes.
and different ones for B. You can have MIDI control of one and aux control of another. Yeah, they're completely independent in that sense.
I mean,
right?
if you put it in dual routing mode, global dual routing mode, you could have A on path 1, 2, B on path 3, 4, right? And then just use those and totally separate. You have vocal in one, guitar in the other, and you have an Eventide algorithm on each channel. And then
Yeah.
if you don't want it on your vocals for a certain song, you can put them both
On one
on one
path,
channel
and
for
the
that
other one's just
program,
dry.
and the other one's just straight dry
It's awesome.
connection. So that kind of stuff. Yeah.
There's another question. Emily asks about Facebook users group. Yeah, we got those.
There
just
is-
made it.
there is an official Eventide Audio H90 users group.
Yeah, we're going to be all in there. So if you guys at any time ask any questions, we'll try to answer it as quick as possible
Yeah.
about the H90.
Links on the display.
Yeah, happy to provide anything.
Absolutely. And this is your direct connection to all developers and representatives. And, many a late night, you can probably get free tech support, right, on the weekends and things like that. So
Not promising that, but yeah, but we'll hang out. We'll hang out.
I'm kind of obsessed with that, to be honest. If anybody knows me through the H9 users group, they know I like to answer questions at any
The late
all
night
times.
with Joe Coetzee.
Yeah, so
You get to them first.
Yeah.
all right. I'm trying. Of course, the Eventide forums are also a good resource for anybody. But sometimes power users just like to help other fellow H9 and H90 users out. So this is a good resource for everybody.
Yeah, and not to mention, it's a really cool place to share different sounds. In this thing, you can export your programs or your lists, and you could just, if you find something cool, send that over to the users group. Someone can download it and import it into their pedal. Now they got that sound.
We didn't talk about. We have a control app, H90 Control, that
Yes.
runs on your PC and your Mac, and that's how you handle all the importing, and exporting, and dealing with. If you have 100 lists because you're in 100 bands, you can use H90 Control to manage all that content.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Kohout asks, Rust is getting some attention. Opinions on its strength, weaknesses for Eventide products?
Have you programmed in Rust before?
I have not. No, that's the Google C++ extra thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've seen I'm sure it's great, and I should.
Yeah.
This makes me think I should go try it. But
Yes.
we languages come, languages go. But C++ has been trusty for us for a while. So.
Kind of like our rock.
Yeah, well, it's close to the metal, and it compiles efficiently.
Yes.
For us, it's what we use.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting to like keep our minds open to
Yes,
stuff, but I don't
yeah.
think we've run into a scenario yet where C++ hasn't been what we needed it to do for us, I think.
Slade asks, he requests that we play some full and half-step bend transitions on it, please. I wish they would have specified on which algorithm, but
Yeah, I'm guessing you talking about the polyphonic pitch shifting, just to do the tracking stuff.
let's hear it.
Sure. I'll do it with my whammy bar, but yeah, it'll track your bends, dude. You could spread your chord. It's gonna track every string. Yeah, really impressive, actually.
Sometimes I don't believe it, but it works.
It works.
Now I'm out of tune. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Way to go.
Sasha Haber asks, how many MIDI CCs do we have?
120.
All the standard ones.
All the standard ones?
Yeah, the 120,
27, right?
28 if you count
28.
zero.
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody needs clarification on any of these questions, please feel free to
Yeah.
post that. Slade also asks, how many parallel loops can be inserted into this chain?
One external parallel loop, but both inserts can live on that external loop, right?
So if you're running mono inserts, that means if the inserts are positioned in the middle, it's still only a max of 3
Yes.
effects at a time.
Yes,
Because
yes.
insert 1 is actually routed in series with insert 2.
Yes, yeah, your insert 1 and 2 would be in series.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the inserts are running in stereo, it's still
Just
3.
one, yeah.
It's still 3.
If
So-
you're using stereo inserts, you're using both of the IOs to do a stereo insert, which is really
Gotcha.
nice. I mean, there's also things we can do like we didn't even talk about like wet dry wet setups, stereo wet dry wet setups. I mean, I mentioned 4-cable method. There's a 8-cable method if you want to run stereo things. You could do that type of thing too. Yeah.
So another obvious question is, how much is the H90 harmonizer, and where can I get it? And I'll answer that. It's
Yes.
$8.99, and you can get it everywhere right now. It's available today on the shelves, ready to ship out, and including Eventide.com store. There's probably like 5 units there.
I see a couple more
because
questions.
literally we
yeah.
planted this seed across the entire world, and we hope that all of you get to enjoy it as soon as possible.
Yes.
What other questions do we have? Anybody else
Someone
out
asked,
there?
can the pitch shift be used to change keys? Yeah, I think to a certain extent. Like, here's an example. This is in my standard key. Then tune that a half step down using polyphony. Oh, sorry, my mix isn't all the way up. So that's a half step down.
that started to sound like corn there
I
a little
know.
bit.
This is again. Then
We found
Oh, yeah.
we found that for we have a percussive mode, which preserves your transients a little better.
Do that again.
yeah. So this is without the minor second down. Then active.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. What other questions do we have from the gallery?
Someone asked about the looper.
It's a bunch of stuff.
There's a bunch, yeah. The looper is 60 seconds at full fidelity, which is 2x speed, and it's true stereo now. We added undo redo. There's a 1-button looper function, so you can use it in perform mode.
Go up a little bit. One of the questions is, will split EQ be added to the H90?
That's a great question. That algorithm is a particularly hungry beast in terms of CPU. Also, the latency is fairly high. But
That'd be tough in live settings.
there are creative ways to use that technology, so stay tuned, I guess.
The technology is officially called structural
split,
effects.
yeah.
We got a lot of stuff in the kitchen.
Yeah,
let's say.
yeah. We
Right.
can cheese.
Yeah, we're chefing up a lot.
We're
Yeah.
chefing up a lot. No, that
Rotisserie.
it's a great question that I will.
I mean, one of the first things we say in the manual is that that tool is really meant for mixing and mastering engineers, right? Because it
Yes.
requires the latency to do the analysis, the very complex analysis,
Yeah.
and that's why it wasn't designed for live use. All right. Another question. Talk about through zero flanger sounds. Are we able to do that?
Yeah, actually, so the through zero flanger sound, for those who may not be familiar, is essentially adding like a little bit of delay to your dry signal so that the modulated delay line actually arrives a little bit before the dry signal. And that's kind of your through zero, right? Like your modulated delay lines up and then it goes through zero. Whereas with the traditional one, you kind of line up in time maybe, or you're slightly before and you're modulating the delay after that. And yeah, the original flanger from the Mod Factor has a through zero mode. There's probably an interesting way to do a through zero flange sound with the instant flanger.
The width control, is that what it is?
If you were to, like if we talked about the main and aux outputs earlier, right? The delay time of the aux output is roughly half that of the main output, and you could maybe in some routing. I'd have to try it out. I don't know if I can
But there's a
guarantee
dedicated through zero mode on the original flanger
Yeah.
algorithm.
Yes, the original one from Mod Factor, yeah.
Talk about impulse response. I'm not sure what they mean by that. I guess they're
Impulse
talking about
response is
reverbs. Oh no, IRs.
IRs, yeah.
Cab IRs.
Yeah.
Not on the H90.
Not on the H90.
Not on the H90.
It hasn't really been our forte. We kind of,
Or really our area of focus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people ask me about that. It's just not our bag. We like to do cool creative effects, and IRs are cool. I don't think it's out of the question for like the future, but like,
Yeah.
but we just want to focus on cool creative effects. That's what we.
we're
what we
cherry on
wanna
top,
do.
Swiss Army knife, studio
Yeah.
quality
Yes.
effects.
Yeah,
at
this
your
is
feet.
supposed to be on your pedal board. You know, like that's the deal. You have an amp already.
Yes.
Another question. Is the H90 capable of microsecond delays used to correct phase issues?
That's an interesting one.
Like a time-align?
Like a time-align type thing. No, we could add that. Yeah, like
the
think there's
latency
a
on
dedicated
the
thing.
inserts kind of maybe will do something like that.
yeah, but it's not micro between delay type things, like the precision timeline plugin that we have, right?
Gotcha.
Uses
Yeah.
uses
That's
those
an
modules.
interesting request.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think the instant
Noted.
flanger, the shortest delay time, if you're at the widest LFO rate, goes down to like 200 microseconds. But I don't know if you'd use that to do any sort of corrective thing.
I guess you could park it too with the manual.
You could
control.
park, yeah, you could park it with the manual knob if you needed exactly 200 microseconds of delay.
Another question that is here is they say, can you set the pre-post as different instruments? Bass into 1 and 2 and guitar into 3 and 4.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That's got.
I'm not sure what they mean by
Oh,
that, to be honest.
in dual mode.
Dual mode.
In dual mode, but
yeah.
that doesn't really have anything to do with pre-post. I mean, so let's
Well,
be
but just
clear.
a
There
second.
is no pre-post mode on the H90. There's a dual mode that can be used for
Yes.
pre-post connections or for cable method, right? So in dual mode, the H90 behaves like two independent stereo effects processors. So yes, one could be for guitar, one could be for bass. Now we can place an algorithm on each path, or two algorithms on one, or two algorithms on the other, any combination thereof, right?
Or in series or parallel.
Correct. So if for any reason you have two algorithms on one path, they can be placed in series or parallel. Cool.
Yeah. Next one. Can I put algo A in the loop 1 and algo B in the loop 2 for my pedal board? I think, yeah, that's the same answer in dual mode.
In dual mode.
Yes. Simple answer, yes. Can inserts be used/turned on and off without using the algorithm? Yeah.
Yes,
So you can assign and perform the P foot switch to turn off, on and off your inserts.
Yes.
So as Patrick demonstrated earlier with the latching and momentary capabilities of, I think it was freeze, you would be able to use insert 1 on page 1 and insert 2 on page 2, right? So that's how you would achieve muting of inserts
Yes.
in perform mode. Next question. Can you send the process signals to the same pair of outputs in dual mode? Can you?
Can you send the process signals to the same? You mean like both algorithms in one path? Is that what they're asking?
Some of them together, maybe.
Nick,
We don't understand
We
the
don't understand the question. Sorry. Next one. Can I use the same algorithm on A and B at the same time to get two independent algorithm instances?
Sure.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
algorithm, most
same
slots,
algorithm,
yeah.
same preset.
Why not?
Why not?
Sure,
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Run 2 loopers.
2 loopers. You can run 2 loopers in series or
your
2
boss.
loopers in Wow. You can run 2 loopers.
Whatever you want,
Could
man.
you use it with vocals? Of course
With
you
a mixing
could.
link.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, it would be best or optimal to put your microphone through some sort of a preamp, right? Eventide makes this product called the Mixing Link that is excellent for vocalists, wind instrument players, or stringed instrument players that like to mic up their instruments. It's got a built-in preamp that gives you 65 dBs of gain. For like the acoustic electric players, it has an instrument input with an adjustable pad. And basically that will optimize the signal going into the H90. The H90 is essentially a studio processor in a box, right? So the caliber of effects is second to none. And with the addition of this preamp, you optimize the signal going into it. So the answer is absolutely yes. Polyphony without the chorus. I'm not...
Oh, yeah,
they
we
just
did
want to
that.
hear it without the
Oh,
chorus.
just one,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'll just do that real quick.
Yeah.
So this is polyphony without the chorus. This is going down a fourth, up a fifth. And those aren't like regular bar chords. Those are some complex chords I'm playing.
Can you bypass it and then engage it?
Yeah.
Show us those.
So that's your minor 9. And then
What chord is it now? Music theory test.
minor.
It's a major
Oh god.
It's a
I
major
failed
pain in
music
my head.
theory, okay?
You know what? Can you demonstrate that cool thing you did the other day with polyphony and the expression pedal?
Oh yeah, okay, cool. I'll turn back on the chorus if that's all right. So this actually Russ mapped this. Let me put it in the parameters page so you guys can kind of see what's happening here. While I cock the expression pedal heel or toe, it changes the harmony, right? So I can do the same chord. So let's just say I'm gonna play a 9 or 7 chord. Same chord will sound different. So you can create like a really cool like R&B vibe sound with that. So. That's just one chord.
Fantastic.
That's really smooth.
Grammy. There it is, dude. Give me it.
Next question. Can we hear stereo delay with a stereo reverb?
Yeah.
Can the H90 do that?
Yeah.
Of course it can!
You remember like in middle school where your teachers like you're like, can I use the restroom? And they're like, I don't know, can you?
Yeah.
The heck? Such a jerk. Anyway.
Of course. Yeah, like I said, the algorithms, the H90, it doesn't matter which algorithm you're using or how powerful or DSP intensive they are. We designed it to be able to use the most powerful algorithms together in series or parallel. So can you give us an example
Yeah,
of...
so this is the most simple form is filter Pong, so left and right filter up, Pong delay going into SP 2016.
We haven't talked about Wormhole yet.
Oh yeah, we should check out Wormhole.
Wow.
Wormhole would be
So,
cool.
You've heard of Black Hole. Now Eventide brings you Wormhole. So imagine...
It's like 2 black holes that are connected to an what's his name?
Oh, you got me there.
Einstein-Rosen bridge.
I don't know no
Einstein-Rosen
physics.
bridge. It's an
Mario
Einstein-Rosen bridge.
Cuomo Bridge.
Guy wants
So we
me
took.
So anyhow, we're known for the black hole reverb, but what many users didn't know is that on the H9000, there was this massive sounding reverb called Wormhole. We ported it over to the H90 with some special new tricks under its sleeve, and so Patrick, please give us
Cool. Just a little taste of Wormhole. It's a massive reverb, right? So, whoop, turn my volume up first.
And it gets in the hole.
That's good. Okay.
Wormhole.
Okay, got it. Better.
Okay.
We can warp through it.
Warp through it. Yeah, that's really cool.
fantastic.
So, like, you know how people, like, in Black Hole dynamically change the size to get that similar sound? Let's just build it into a perform switch, right? So,
Just tap the button.
and I can let go. It's pretty wild.
So that's another
But, like,
brand new
seriously,
H90 algorithm.
Again, like those things come a long way. Like when you're playing live and you want to transition between songs, like those things are awesome because you can just warp into the next song, you know?
Right, and that can be true spillovered?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyhow, next question. Will Eventide add algorithms to the H90 like they did with the H9?
Absolutely.
Ooh,
There's,
yeah,
that's
I
an
mean,
easy
there's-
one.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
really no other reason to keep doing
In
this.
fact,
We're
yeah.
done, actually.
In fact, we're doing this, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
really, this is what the platform is all about. The advancement of effects design, and we're hoping to blow minds in the coming years, right?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier, but like this, seriously, as long as I've been at Eventide, this is the easiest thing to like develop a new algorithm for. It's the ability to just very quickly prototype something in VSig and throw it on here is super nice, and we're going to take full advantage of that.
We made it
No
for we made it
question.
for Woody. We made
It
for
was a
Woody.
present to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we made it for
thank
Woody.
you.
Happy birthday, kid.
Happy birthday, Woody.
Thanks, guys.
Anyhow, what's the shortest delay possible?
Very short. That's like, yeah, you could go comb filtering to the point, right?
I have a question on bouquet delay. I mean, typically bucket brigade delays are limited to about 20 milliseconds. Can we do shorter than 20 milliseconds?
We know for bouquet delay, our shortest delay time, I think for that one is 75, although the parameters will correct me if I'm wrong. But there is kind of like, you know, we're making the most out of the horsepower on this thing, and, you know, the bouquet delay algorithm is a little interesting in that it actually takes more horsepower to run at short delays.
How about on something like micro pitch? What's the shortest delay time?
Oh, those go down to like 1 millisecond.
Yeah.
or
1
something.
millisecond?
Yeah. Most of the delays, like I think you can get that way with digital delay. Everything
Yeah.
in time factor goes pretty low. And you mentioned the flanger.
Yeah, the instant flanger is down. I think the shortest one is 200 microseconds. Tony can shake his
200
head if I'm way off,
microseconds?
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's small.
Because you can put that on manual mode and then park the manual,
Way
stop
down
the
there.
LFO, and then just use it.
Right. To clarify, manual is just a way of controlling the LFO, right?
Manually,
And
with
in
the
manual
flanger,
mode, you can just leave it cocked at one setting
Yes.
for a particular sound that you may be looking for.
Yeah.
But it achieves, you said,
Yeah.
200 microseconds.
I believe, yeah, it's been a long time since I looked at the instant flanger.
Yeah.
But
It's like a parked flanger, like a parked wall.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And at that short of a delay, you're already dealing with those types of comb filtered sounds, right?
Yeah.
So how does it compare to a whammy V in terms of tracking?
I don't know.
Well, hard to translate that via a live stream, but I can tell you from experience that it tracks really well, and I can. Like I said, the bends will.
Definitely the polyphony. We have a pitch flex algorithm, which is essentially
But in terms of expression pedal, because I'm assuming they wanna
To
use-
do the whammy
yeah,
sound.
Yeah.
I'll let you take this one, Russ.
That's
Oh, we have that in the pitch
pitch
flex
flex
algorithm.
algorithm.
Pitch flex,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pitch
I
flex will
have
get you
a
there.
preset in here called Stone Morello.
Maybe something to consider in
Stone
the future.
Morello.
Yeah.
Not obvious in any way.
And you can, yeah, I don't know what that's
No, I
named
don't know
after.
who that's talking about.
Get the little glasses with the mustache.
And you can, it's a nice fuzz sound. Let me turn up the gain on this a little bit. And you can actually map the perform switches to do the flex with you. So.
Cool.
Whammy.
Right.
Yeah.
How does this compare to Eclipse?
Oh, so Eclipse was, I studied the Eclipse a lot when I was thinking about this. I kind of answered that at the very, very beginning of this. The Eclipse has its own algorithms, but the Eclipse also has Black Hole and a version of Wormhole, I believe, and a bunch of other things, right? So the Eclipse was dual engine, right? This is kind of like a successor to the Eclipse, but in a pedal form, right?
Right. I mean, it's got way more routing flexibility than an Eclipse.
Yes, it has a lot more routing flexibility in
It's
Eclipse.
easier to navigate than an Eclipse.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
MIDI programming, aux switch assignments are very easy to program.
Yeah, I can show that actually real quick. So it's super easy to map your expression pedal to any of this stuff. So, for example, let me go to a good one here.
I mean, I will say, if anyone loves a particular algorithm in the Eclipse that we don't have, yell about it loud enough.
Totally.
It might happen.
Yeah.
You know?
So to map your expression pedal, you go to parameters, and for example, for this one, I just want to map the input gain to my expression pedal. I can quickly just hold that, hit learn, and as soon as you move a controller, it's going to learn that. the next page will map your range. So let's just set the toe to +5, and then the beginning to Actually, let's keep it at -60. So now that's mapped right away. So
Fill your volume.
took like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Next question. When connected to USB, does it function as an interface? That is, can I use it in the computer without using the analog outs of my interface?
No.
No.
Not yet.
You said
Anyhow.
it's an
Has-
fine. It's an it's exploratory place
right.
for us right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has the noise floor been improved from the H9?
Yes, it has. You know, it's measuring more.
Right.
It's. I think we're at.
Greater dynamic range.
I think we're at negative 102 or 3.
Whereas the
something like that.
H9 was like 95 or something?
Something like that. Yeah. We
Okay.
got so twice as much.
Does the H910, H949 include the original aux output? I need to finish that question. If not, can it be implemented in the future?
No, it does not, and probably.
I don't know.
I don't even
No,
know what
it
that
didn't.
is.
I did that algorithm.
Yeah.
And this, I think the plugin does, but this one is running the Pitch Factor version, which is a little more like performance-oriented, knobby thing we did in the Pitch Factor. But that's actually a good. We could do that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Tony's
Answer is,
saying,
I don't know.
yeah. There's a lot we could do. We're excited. I don't know how to say that.
Can you program change effect A and B separately via MIDI? I think they mean preset change or change the algorithms?
So they want to change the algorithm.
Or maybe
on
in
A
dual
and
mode?
B.
Are you talking about dual mode?
No, I think they're saying they want to change the algorithm on A without changing the algorithm on B, like dynamically.
Setting a program change. message.
Right.
No.
Nope.
No,
Can't do
no,
that.
but
I mean,
you
you
can
could
make
design two
different
programs.
You do
Yeah.
programs.
Yeah,
And because
yeah.
there's true spillover, it'll be seamless.
It'll be seamless.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
right.
Yeah.
So
Hot switches help
way
with that
around
too.
it.
You know, different settings within your algorithms.
Absolutely.
But I consider that a decent feature request of a question there. So.
Yeah.
We have a few more questions. Looks like I can't read it.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Is the looper mono? And
No.
why, if so?
No.
You didn't let me finish.
I know. Well, because it was because the second question was and why if so. So what's the point of finishing
Just
if it's
no.
not mono?
So the answer to the question is
No.
no.
Yeah.
It
No.
is stereo. Absolutely stereo. Okay, fantastic.
Could I connect a Bluetooth MIDI controller?
TBD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will there be different versions of H9 Core and Max? If so, would this be the Core or Max version? No, this is just going to be straight up all the algorithms that you want.
All at once.
All
Yeah.
at once.
Everywhere,
Shout
all
out
at
Rafiq.
once.
Yeah. I think that's the last question, right?
Not charging for new ones, right?
Not charging for what? New ones?
New algorithms.
You know, that's to be
Go ahead.
determined. We've thought about maybe doing artist things,
Yeah. So now that you can kind
but
of
nothing that comes directly from Eventide. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
we,
I
we,
don't know.
we really haven't decided that.
We're putting ourselves in uncharted.
Yeah.
There are going to be some for free.
Yes.
For sure. I can say that much.
People want to hear bouquet delay? Okay. Buy one.
Jesus.
I'm a
I
savage
need you
today.
to be a little bit more sensitive to,
The man's on a mission to sell H90s.
there's a reason he's not in sales.
What do you mean?
But
That's
you
like
know,
that's like the best sales tactic.
If you knew Patrick, you would love him, I promise.
But you don't, so you hate me.
I think he's just hot because the lights in here are very bright.
I need my Korean barbecue right now, dude. Yeah, we can go through a few different presets, good sir.
So we would love to play some bouquet delay
Yes.
presets for you.
So
In
let's
fact, just go through presets.
I'll just go through presets.
Yeah.
Flower power.
Let a chord ring there. Hold on, hold it. Ooh, a lot of modulation.
Give me some reggae. leaky bucket. Nice slap. And let's do a couple more. Rosebud.
So what is this? Stereo?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So if you this one will detect if you've got the outputs hooked up mono or stereo, and when you've got stereo outputs connected, you have available to you a knob that will let you set a division of the main delay time to kind of like, in theory, if you could tap out a Bucket Brigade chip from a variable point along it. That's the idea
Wow.
with that. Yeah, so you can get a nice kind of stereo ping pong thing out of it if you've got stereo outputs connected.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so the last one, example of a long one. That's kind of cool. Haven't heard that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me
Gnarly
hear the
one.
degradation. Nice.
Somebody way underclocked that one.
Good degradation there. You're never gonna be good enough.
Next question. Can the looper be combined with the rest of the effects?
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
You can do one looper and another effect.
And you can swap the order, right?
Yes, you can.
Ooh, cool. Will there be a black version?
That would be pretty hot.
TBD.
That'd be kind of cool.
Well, I want to know if there's going to be a gold version. If anybody out there remembers the H9 Max Gold, yeah. That's for the copper one, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Where Patrick's
So, you know, the power users out there are getting way ahead of us. We haven't even really thought about that. Well, that's a lie. We
like
actually
these
did,
boots?
but yeah. Gold trim. God,
this is my fancy boots, dog.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
They're very stylish, Patrick.
Actually, I have a question. Does the H90 have a tuner?
Yes,
yes.
totally. It's a very good tuner, actually. So you just press and hold, kind of similar to the H9. Press and hold the A and B, and then you can start tuning. I'm in D standard, so people are confused on why.
You mean regular tuning?
This is the right tuning.
Okay.
Yeah.
To exit, and by the way, you can mute signal through the H90 while it's in tuner mode, or you can choose to pass it through. While you're in the tuner, there's an option with a quick knob to make that adjustment. So, yeah. So let's see.
Power requirements with Power Max. Yeah.
Power requirements. Well, it ships with a 12-volt, 1-amp power adapter. But through our testing with our own Eventide/Chalks Power Max and Power Mini products, we can safely power the H90 with one outlet, right? As long as you're running it at 12 volts, it will provide sufficient juice to power the H90. Now, any non-Power Max or Power Mini product, the safest bet is to power it with a 12-volt, 600 milliamp outlet, right? We ship with a 1-amp adapter because we may or may not have future plans for the USB-C connection, right? So we want to make sure there's enough juice for all of that. But this is as clear as information as we can give you about the power requirements. So
I've been using mine on my board with a Power Mini for 6 months.
me too. And again, run it at 12 volts, right?
Yes,
And
definitely.
this is a center positive
Yes.
connector like the H9. So for power supplies out there that don't function, that have like center negative outputs, you will need an adapter that converts it from 2.1 to 2.5 millimeters center negative to center positive. And I've used the Voodoo Labs products for this. I know Strymon makes a converter cable for their Zuma products. And yeah.
Cool.
Next question. Is it possible to program an auto-engage wah or whammy? Like bypass sound in heel position and then engaged as soon as the expression pedal is moved above a heel position?
No, not right now. I did feature request that at some
did.
point because I like that feature. Shout
Right.
out to Slipknot.
Was
That's their
this
biggest feature
you,
too.
Patrick, that asked this question?
It was actually
Just typing over here.
It was
Ah,
actually
that's great.
Alex from Slipknot that
Alex Venturella from
Yeah.
Slipknot.
requested this.
All right,
So,
Yes.
guys,
We got
You
work
know,
to do apparently.
it's in the official project management system as
Right.
a feature request right now.
Right.
So I mean, obviously, we ship a pedal and we don't stop working on it. Like we
Yeah.
might take this weekend off. I think that might be a nice thing
Now,
to,
you know,
to
there,
do.
there are third-party products like MIDI Solutions makes an event designer that you can actually send messages according to where you are in the range of expression that can make this possible. I've never tested it myself, but this product exists for this type of advanced programming. But yeah, I agree. It's a cool feature request.
Are there different views for the tuner? I think you're talking about strobe or the bubble. Not yet.
You also asked for that.
I did ask for that. I'm typing all of these into
How are you doing
YouTube.
this all at the same time?
Voice command. Give Pat a raise. Sorry.
Yeah, like I said-
another comment.
Honestly, the best place you can go to make suggestions for products in general are the Eventide forums, because that's like, you know,
Yeah.
all the developers are paying attention to that.
Or join the users group.
Right.
Seriously. Yeah.
Even the Facebook users group, oftentimes our team will relay the message, right? Next question. Will you open the H90 up to outside C assembler level DSP algorithm development?
No, that would be entering into a relationship with us. So I'd say send me a resume if that's really what you want to do with your life.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
certainly read it. That stuff, you know. I will say the H9000 supports GIN, Max MSP GIN integration. So there's, you know, hopefully that we can, you know, expand on that relationship in the future. Those guys are great. We love what they're doing at cycling, especially with Rainbow coming out and everything now. It's great. So.
Do you have any testing with 9 volts DC input? Do the regulators internally have any way of handling 9 volts? Was there a reason why you chose 12 instead of 9 with more amps?
No, it's 9 to 12 volts. The regulators can handle that. So yeah, you need to hit it with the appropriate amount of current.
At 9 volts, you would need about 800 milliamps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the other way, 1.2.
We've also done tests with that, but obviously the
power,
efficiency of 12 volts for our Power Max and Power Mini products keeps it within a safer range, right? So,
But yeah,
9 volts is.
Yeah, it's a regulated power supply.
With most power supplies on the market, you would have to use 2 outlets to achieve that current, right? So it may be just better to run at 12 volts. Next question. Are there any LFO type modulations available to change a parameter?
Ooh, great question. No, but that was one of my own personal feature requests.
Yeah.
Should we expect that?
I'm going to take this weekend off first.
Seriously, we've all been working so
Working
hard on
hard.
this that we all deserve a small vacation. But anyhow,
What's
good
the
suggestion.
longest delay time in mono?
What's that,
What's the
Patrick?
longest delay time in mono? I don't know the answer, but the digital delay goes to 3,000 milliseconds. So
I think UltraTap now will go to 9 seconds.
Depending on the
Depending on the algorithm.
algorithm.
right on
Yeah.
the algorithm,
Yeah, depends.
the preset rather.
yeah.
With this one, we kept them actually.
Can we just see real quick? Go into parameters on a.
I just did
There's over what 12 or 13
There's a lot of
delay
delay
algorithms.
Yeah, there's a ton.
We just don't have
We'll go into it.
the
some other
ranges
point.
memorized. But
Yeah.
what are the most common ones that we can share? I know micropitch does up to 6 seconds.
Yeah, that might be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone asked about synth tones. I'm assuming you mean guitar turning into synth. Yeah, there's no new ones yet, but you can combine hot saws with other, effects. So I like Billie Eilish a lot. So this is kind of like one of her tones,
I love this.
Oh, dude, I didn't even know you could move the expression pedal on this. I mean, I knew you could do that, but like to make this kind of cool, like sweeping sound. So
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What?
That's really good.
That's
yeah,
That-
it's pretty gnarly.
That sounds Tom Sawyer-y a little bit.
Totally, yeah.
Or not.
There's a few presets like that in here that I made. There's another one called 80s Villain that y'all should check out.
Do you have a Getty interpretation for us, or like a?
Hey, Tom Sawyer, where are you? That pretty close. No, I
All right. You got another demo for us?
Okay, yeah, I can.
What about
So-
that B3 one you like to use?
Oh, that's not a synth one, but I can show
Oh,
it
it's
to
not
you.
a synth one. I always thought it
No,
was.
that's polyphony going into rotary, right?
Oh yeah, we can make a B3 sound with that. Yeah.
So that's using rotary?
using rotary polyphony into rotary, so you can kind of get that really convincing B3 sound.
I made a program for bass that's same kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Next question. How many more algorithms fit into the pedal? I guess that's an H9 Max user concerned that it'll tap out.
Ask us 10 years from now, I guess.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
A lot
of
probably.
algorithms.
Yeah.
Probably
There
a
is
lot.
space.
Yeah.
Can the tuner change from standard tuning A440? Yeah, you can go 20 below or 20 above. So 420 to 460.
Yeah, 420, really?
Yes. What are you trying to say, dude?
Nothing. That it's about that time. How good is the visibility in sunlight? Perhaps implement an invert display theme.
No, actually, I play this in sunlight. It's really good. The contrast is really great on this thing. So, good. You know, you got to put it into practice to really judge. But just from my experience, I can see everything fine.
Yeah, it's an OLED. The
Yeah.
blacks are all the way
Plus,
black.
like the things that you really need to see live, it's bold, so you won't miss it.
And we actually went as far as to give the LED lights 4 levels of brightness that you can tune in system mode. If it's blowing you away in the bedroom in the dark, you can turn it low and then turn it back up high in the sunlight, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you show us how send and return works? If not yet, please. Send and return.
Talking about inserts or like FX loop stuff?
I'm not sure, but let's cover a couple scenarios here. Let's say you're a live sound engineer and you want to use the H90 as a dual stereo effects processor. I would put it in dual path mode, and this will allow me to have 2 independent effects processors, and I would put him in kill dry mode so that I could feed the H90 from the mixer send, go into the inputs on, say, path 1 for effect A, come out of outputs 1 and 2 into my effects return or a stereo pair of channels on the live sound mixer. And again, you can have 2 sends, one for path A and one for path B. So this acts as a send and return loop for effects for a live sound mixer. Then send and return, I guess maybe they're referring to inserts?
Yeah, we could look at the insert parameters because it's such that you could do standard insert stuff. So there's a mix control on your return signal in addition to send and return gains. So what the mix control on the return does is mixes the dry path. Before it goes out and comes back in, we can mix the dry path back in. So we can actually do stuff like only use a send, right? If you want to push this thing, if you want to push a dry signal out before a wet effect to 1 amp, right? That's your dry amp. Then you can have 2 wet amps, right? That are coming off. So you use that return mix to do that type of thing, right? So there's a lot of flexibility.
Yes.
Here's another scenario. Say you're a studio engineer or producer. You can output signal from your DAW to the H90 and process it through path A or path B. So again, 2 independent stereo effects processors. And again, I recommend bringing the signal back through a stereo pair of inputs on that interface into a channel and run the H90 in kill dry mode, right? This will prevent any issues with comb filtering that may occur from latency that's introduced with any outboard gear, right? But it is possible. And again, you have a send from your DAW going into the H90 via your audio interface, taking the process signal back into your audio interface into another auxiliary channel of your DAW. That's another way we can use this.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question, and it was a great question. Do we have any more?
What bass?
Ooh, we'll let the bassist, the in-house
have a
bassist.
bassist?
Yes.
Is there a bassist around?
So,
This
what,
guy.
what bassist?
What
program?
bassist? Program?
Oh, that's a that's not about me.
I made that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
That's
that-
just using
that's for guitar
polyphony to
players.
go an octave down. That's pretty much it. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, okay. I get it.
we
That's,
all-
we all got fooled.
that's a rather creative way to ask the question.
What bassist?
What bassist?
They're typing them in real time, so we're like,
I can use a program. Correct. Yes,
I gotta
absolutely.
They must have. They saw it when it flew by, and we're like, "What is that?"
What bassist?
I will say, as a bassist, I've been using Polyphony Live for a while, secretly, and it's great because I use it for octave down. Mostly, especially when I'm playing up high. And what's nice about it is I'm not afraid to just pull a double stop or a weird like tritone slide thing or something, right? Like it just totally. I don't think anymore of, I have my octaver on, I got to make sure I only play one string at a time. And I guess people are also thinking, well, you're a bassist, you should be playing one string at a time. Sometimes we don't.
Don't let him bring you down, Russ.
Yeah, sometimes we
Not
don't.
during my solo.
Yeah.
Right?
It's somewhere in here. I'll
So
find it
while
later.
Patrick is finding that, let's address another question. Any plans to upgrade the algorithms on the H9 like they are now on the H90? Primarily concerned with the better pitch tracking.
Great question.
I don't have any of those plans, no.
There are no plans for Eventide to go back to the H9 Max, as it is already a full deck of 52 algorithms. So the H9 Max is not going anywhere. We will still support it, but we're focused more on the development on the H90 at this point. We're really not going back and messing around with the existing algorithms. What other questions do we have? Let's see. Has anyone gotten drunk and plugged the output 3 into input 4 and gotten a feedback loop? Can the input stages handle that if I use an external passive feedback loop
This
box?
question sounds like it's coming from experience.
Are you drunk? Like, are you okay? The answer is yes, the first part of that.
Has anyone gotten drunk?
Has anyone ever gotten drunk? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there's another question after that. There's more after. Next one. Any chance of a version with digital I/O?
Hold on, we didn't answer the previous question.
Oh, sorry, man.
was
I
a-
did.
Is there a feedback loop?
I was
right? Is
drunk.
that-
I mean, if you like, that's dangerous, you know. Like, I mean, you care about your amp. It
don't do
would
it.
would totally work, and it would start probably clipping at some point. I think we've built. I believe that we protect against that type of clipping with a little bit of analog circuitry. But hey, listen, if you buy it, get drunk with it. It's yours, but. But if you blow up your speaker doing that type of thing,
If you buy it, you break it. Wait a minute.
If
That's
you
not how that
break
goes.
it, you yeah.
no.
Any chance of a version with digital I/O, meaning ADAT or other stuff like that? I don't think so, right? All the I/Os are set.
The hardware is already set.
Buy an
in place.
H9000. That's got all the digital I/Os that you could ever want.
128 channels worth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible to use two-looper algorithms and sync them in order to have a first short loop and use it in the second looper with a longer one with tempo sync?
because there's a global tempo sync, so that would work. Yeah.
Wait, I missed the answer. What was that?
A little drunk.
Your head was exploding.
Little.
Yeah.
My coffee's already like waning down.
Yeah, you could do that because if you put them both in tempo, but they need to be in tempo mode, right? Or tempo sync was what we call it now. They need to be both tempo syncing, and in that case, yeah, as long as you have decently okay timing, you can get those started. Same. If you're following MIDI clock and you do a MIDI start, that'll actually kind of give you an internal sort of beat location, and then that's freeze up a little bit on your bad timing or good timing, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Someone wrote in the bottom, "Give Patrick a raise." I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Why are you moving ahead?
I just saw it and it made me crack up.
Can't you see there's a queue here?
Jump all the way to the end.
Everyone spam the comment section. Give Pat a raise. I need a D'Angelico guitar. Stat. I got a ton of tattoos, but I'm out of money.
So next question. Is it possible to use, well, we already did that. Next question. Can the inserts be placed in the delay line? For example, a POG placed in the insert-only effects.
The insert only affects the repeats and not the drag.
They want to
I
inject.
see.
They want to inject the insert in
the middle of the
an algorithm.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question in English, please?
Can the inserts be placed in the delay line? For example, a POG placed in the insert only affects the repeats and not the dry. Is it at the end of the chain or does each repeat crystallize? ¿Por qué?
I don't understand that
Don't
part of the
understand that
question. But no, right now we're not allowing inserts into the algorithms. The inserts are external to the algorithms.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
can put when the signal flow is in series, you can put algorithms in I think 5 different places, right? Before, in the middle, after, in parallel. So, yeah. Am I missing one? All right. Anyhow.
In parallel routing, it's even way more.
It's like
Yeah,
more
there's
seven.
There's more places
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
inserts
7,
in parallel
right?
routing.
Pre
Yeah.
to both, pre to each, in parallel with all of them, and then the same thing after the
Post,
signature.
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and then post, yeah. Exactly.
Right. So you would have to find a routing there that works for the sound you're trying to achieve.
But no, we don't inject into the algorithms.
Does it have tap tempo?
Oh, yeah, yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
You go and perform, and you can assign P to tap tempo. So make that way fast. So yes.
Yes,
Cool.
definitely.
Absolutely. Nice. What comes in the box? Okay, so in the box.
An H90.
A universal power supply.
We've reached the
Sorry.
comedic portion of the show. the comedy portion of the show. All right. So, I open the box. What do I see, Patrick?
You see, first of all, the QRG.
What is QRG mean?
Quick reference guide.
All right.
Then the H90 right underneath that. And then to the right, you'll find another box, smaller box, with a power supply with a bunch of universal switch. So you can switch like the
Adapter tips.
Exactly.
Right.
And a USB cable. So
Nice.
USB A to C cable will be included in the box.
What about, you get a sticker,
You do.
you get a pick,
And little rubber feet.
little rubber
Yeah,
feet.
so a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's pretty. I think I have a box. It's over there. Do you want to grab that, Woody?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Around me?
yeah, but is that like a new one?
No, but you know. But I can see the box. It's kind of cool.
It comes with a USB cable, right?
Comes
A
with the
USB
USB-C,
comes with a USB-C
C to
cable.
A cable. So
C to
there's
A,
the
yeah.
box right there.
Yeah, let me.
Down under the other camera.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
We got a fancy. We got a 2-camera setup here.
Little H90 box.
All right. So you can draw your presets on the front of the box.
It's like, yeah.
It's like a dry erase board. Right. Anyhow,
Granular delays with smear.
granular delays with smear.
Not
also tap like slur maybe.
not granular though.
That's interesting.
Granular means that you're taking parts of like it records a loop and it like will
Break it
delay
up into
certain
Yeah, I mean, I
parts
just
of
did
that
a
loop.
I just did a
Like
reverse.
the Red Panda stuff?
Like the
Yeah,
red
yeah,
stuff,
I love that
pedal.
Chase Bliss stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the reverse delays in Fission 2. I recently did, kind of get in a granular territory, and that would be a pretty fun port.
Cool. Yeah.
Can we get granular with the looper and then
Yes.
put that into a delay?
Yeah, you could do that.
There you go. So yeah.
right. Well, there's not a dedicated algorithm for that, but there are ways of achieving similar sounds. But noted, you're interested in granular delay algorithms. Fantastic.
Will the new algorithms be available in the H9000? Yeah, for sure. I think at some
Yes,
point
that's the
we're
plan.
definitely still supporting the H9000. So yes.
Maybe after a little break.
Yeah.
That'll probably
give
be
us a couple days, man.
yeah.
Yeah, again, we have one team of extremely talented developers working in all facets of the company, doing software development, H9000 development, and H90 development, or rather, the pedal line development. So we move in cycles, right? So there was a question earlier about, are we going to go back to the H9000? Most certainly, absolutely we are. And not only will there be improvements to emote, but there will be additional algorithms. There's so much activity going on in the forums right now with your suggestions, so keep them coming. We're listening, but please, we ask for your patience as we get into the next cycle of development, right? MIDI controller capability. It is fully MIDI capable, and again, just like the H9 Max, all the presets, all the parameters and functionality of the pedal is assignable to controller change numbers. It responds and delivers program change information. This is actually an aspect of the pedal that we're still going to improve, but everything that's possible on the H9 Max is possible on the H90 for interfacing with a MIDI controller.
Yeah, I have the MIDI controller hooked up right now, so I just have the bottom 3 here queuing up different programs. Boom, 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 and then this one is upload, and then this one is download, and then I got a dedicated tap tempo over there. So yeah, totally.
Right.
Most bizarre algorithm, I think was asked a few times. I could show you a bunch of different ones, but I think the thing that really makes this cool is how you can combine two different algorithms to make something bizarre. These are two regular H9 algorithms. This one's called Robot Cat.
That one's pretty good.
That sounds just like my robot cat.
Yeah, that's modeled after a real robot cat. But yeah, that's a pretty bizarre one. There's another one called 80s Villain here, similar to the synth question. Expression pedal does something cool, so. Then just loads of other ones. So.
Damn. Transported with that one.
Yeah, this one's kind of cool. I'll just play you one more because I'm having fun.
maybe?
Mosaic's
Oh,
cool.
Mosaic's great.
This one's called Andromeda, though. That one's kind of cool. But yeah, let's do Mosaic.
Which one is Mosaic?
Mosaic
Polyphony
is
and
into
crystals
crystals,
together.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like crystal shattering, right? So.
This is delayed polyphony with
Yeah,
crystals.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Somebody's asking about input-output metering, and it is present on the H90. You'll notice at the very top of the display there are LEDs that indicate when there is signal. Now, the metering is handled as dB full scale, so you never want to see red. That means you are absolutely clipping. Whereas on the H9, the red LED meant you're about there, but it should never be solid, right? On the H90, you see red, no bueno. So,
Yeah.
right.
Turn it down a little.
Turn it down a little.
Or run line level.
Someone asked, why should I upgrade from H9 Max? Well,
And if they've been
so
watching
many.
this
Yeah,
long,
yeah.
they don't know
So,
why.
so how about
Ton of
this?
answers.
I'll give you a reason and we just keep going.
Sure.
Number one, new algorithms. More horsepower renders some incredibly wonderful new effects that weren't possible on the H9 Max.
Flexibility, momentary foot switches, customizability of programs. You know, you can name song names.
Hey, we
all
said
this stuff.
one.
One, sorry. yeah, sorry. I'm gonna give him the next one.
I know. Russ is excited.
I'm
This is-
excited.
This is his baby, you know. So
50 years of Eventide history in one single box, right? The Instant Phaser came out in 1971, and we just made our polyphonic pitch shifter. You know, we finalized it this year. So, and you get the SP 2016 in the middle. Ton of stuff in between. 50 years of Eventide history, one box.
Inspirational tools. So if you're having trouble, you're in a writer's block, it's really fun to just kind of go through the different effects and just see where the sound takes you.
how about an obvious one? 2 algorithms at the same time, finally.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no one mentioned that one first.
Let's go another round here.
We missed.
What else we got?
2 algorithms at the same time.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. How about 2 expression pedals at the
Yes.
same
Yeah,
time?
that's cool.
Yes.
That's really
right?
cool. Line levels, big for synth people, huge.
The playability.
Yeah.
We got the knobs that you can turn, the assignable performance switches,
Yes.
quick knobs. Like, you can do so much to not only just play through an algorithm, but actively change it while you're playing.
Yeah, in Mosaic, I can momentarily freeze it
Oh yeah.
and still play crystals over that.
I like,
That's enough of that.
So 4 more minutes of this, you said?
yes.
How about bank mode? Now it's so much easier
Yes.
to access your sounds from the front panel of the pedal. When you're performing live, now you have 3 immediately available bypass, active, all from the same page.
Yerk.
Flexible inserts and routing.
Yeah, so I live, and I'm going to redo my whole pedal board, but I have a
Yeah.
Boss ES5 that's like a loop pedal, basically. It lets you plug in different pedals into your loop, and when I was playing a bunch of gigs, I would always be tap dancing to kind of change presets. I know this doesn't look like tap dancing in the camera.
That looks more like swimming.
It looks like you're
Or
showing
drown.
off
I
your
like
nice boots.
drowning. So anyway, these boots are pretty cool. That's the advantage. But no, so the fact that you can have loops, meaning that I can have my favorite distortions anywhere I want in the loop, depending on the program, insanely useful. I don't have to do any more tap dancing to get to the sound that I want. Like Joe said, I can get to bank mode and instantly access those. And some of them can have inserts, some of them won't. It's crazy.
And I'll reiterate, it's so much easier to edit and find sounds on the H90 as opposed to the H9 Max, right? A lot of people ended up just relying on H9 control. And while H90 control exists, a lot of us don't even use it because it's so much easier to use the front panel of the pedal to do everything we need to do, right?
Yep.
So, a Euro rack version. Noted. So, I mean, again, I as the official road dog for the company, that is probably the second or third most requested thing that users are looking for is a Euro rack version of the H9 Max or H90. So, who knows? Great
Yeah.
suggestion.
I think we got time for one more
Now,
question.
it does do CV inputs.
Yeah, 0 to
right?
5 volts. So, envelope level or like control CV type stuff, not negative 5 to 5.
And those can be assigned to any and all parameters on the pedal.
Just like it's an expression pedal. You just
Correct.
pretend that your CV is an expression pedal.
Yeah, we got time for one more question. Let's do, are the legacy H9 Max algorithms in the H90?
Yep.
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
And they've been
They've been
turbocharged.
improved,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
plus
yeah.
10 new algorithms that aren't in the H9. So like when the value proposition hits like that you're paying $899 for one pedal, it's not that. You're paying $899 for 62 studio quality pedals.
Exactly.
Or two
This man knows
H9s.
how to
Or
sell
two
pedals.
H9s. Hey, listen, just buy one, okay?
So, on behalf of Eventide, all of our community of beta testers and influencers, and of course our dealers, we want to thank you for joining us for today's live stream. We're extremely excited to see what you're going to do with the H90 harmonizer, and we want to wish everybody an early happy holiday season. Please engage with us on the Facebook users group. Can we have that link? Thank you. Or on the user forums. Give us your suggestions, your feedback once you're using the pedal of things you'd like us to do. And of course, we want to wish everybody, we want to say thank you for being Eventide supporters all these years. We hope you've enjoyed this live stream. Take care, everybody.